A lot of you guys aren't gonna like this video. I don't like this video and what this means for me, but the more I look into it and the more I research, the more this just seems to make sense. And that is the fact that your legs, your leg muscles, are probably the most important muscle group in your body. I don't just mean aesthetics, I mean that's subjective, but I mean in terms of health-wise and in terms of whether you want to do this bodybuilding thing for a long time. Your legs are probably going to be what you want to most prioritize right now if you are a young man or a young woman. But most of my audience is men, and men generally don't like leg day, so that's why this is sad news for me, but I think it's important information. So, the human legs are fundamental to mobility, balance, and overall physical function. But as we age, the muscles in our legs, particularly our quadriceps, are among the most susceptible to experience atrophy. This has the practical implications of not just decreasing strength and size, but increasing risks of falls and disabilities. There's a lot of joints and ligaments in your legs that tend to atrophy very quickly, that make it very difficult for elderly people to walk around and whatnot. A lot more stuff can go wrong in your hips and your knees than, for example, in your fingers or your arms. The shoulders can get messed up, but it's not as common in my experience as getting bad knees. So yeah, engaging in regular leg strengthening exercises in your youth will greatly mitigate these age-related declines. And research is now starting to show that leg strength, particularly your quadricep strength, is strongly associated with lower all-cause mortality, even surpassing commonly used markers of health indicators such as hand grip strength. Sarcopenia, which is the age-related loss of muscle mass and strength, significantly affects the legs more than all the other muscle groups, at least in my experience and in my research. I use this example all the time because it's just so relevant. Kevin Levrone, his legs seem to deteriorate much quicker. He did a show back in 2016, I think in 2019 as well. His legs were a shell of their former self. They were decrepit. They were kind of sad to look at. Compared to his 20s and 30s when he was in his prime, his legs looked really good there. They didn't look tremendous like you'd see in modern bodybuilders, but they looked really good. They still looked more than passable for even modern day standards. It just wasn't a strong point for him. So when you compare his legs then and look at it in relation to his upper body, his legs seem to have depreciated significantly more than his upper body did. And when you compare that to someone like Tom Platz, he's about 69 years old right now, and his leg muscles still look really good. Obviously, he's kind of an extreme example because he has the best legs in bodybuilding history. I think everyone kind of acknowledges that. But his leg muscles still look really good, and they still look like now his legs actually look proportional to his upper body, because before, when he was younger, his legs probably looked a bit too big for his upper body. And now I think if you look at him now, his legs actually look proportional to his upper body. So his legs obviously atrophied, but they didn't atrophy to the extent, they atrophied more than his upper body did actually. But because his legs were so big before that, he didn't feel the weight of that as much as someone like Kevin Levrone would. Now, muscle mass generally decreases by about 3 to 8% per decade after you turn 30, especially if you don't work out, and then it starts to rapidly accelerate after that, after you turn 60. And this loss, involuntary loss of muscle mass and strength, again, like I said, is a strong contributor to a bunch of other disabilities that you find in elderly people. So again, I theorize at least that engaging in these exercises more so when you're younger, and probably overcompensating when you're younger, will reduce the severity that you will feel from the sarcopenia that you'll find later on in life. So that covers the aesthetics part, but let's get more into the mortality part now. Studies have often shown that muscle strength particularly has been associated with lower risk of all-cause mortality in men and women. I don't even think I need to show you a study on that. It's basically just common knowledge and basically common sense at this point. But everyone sort of thinks of hand grip strength as the ultimate indicator of your longevity, because your hand grip strength, generally speaking, is what's going to be, tertiarily targeted in a bunch of exercises, like your deadlift and your pull-ups. It's going to be targeted in a bunch of those exercises, so it's a good general gauge of your overall muscle strength. So I don't have any problems with that. Of course, hand grip strength is very It seems to be a very good indicator of longevity and your overall muscle strength and muscle mass. It also implies different like you can look at your hand grip strength and you can determine how strong, how much testosterone someone has, and how well their body is functioning generally. So it seems to be like the gold standard in studies recently of the past couple of years for overall longevity and overall health. And it is a good indicator, but studies now are starting to come out and say that leg strength is actually a better indicator of overall health. A study published in the Journal of the American Geriatric Society found that lower muscle strength, particularly quadricep strength, was the best indicator of health function in elderly adults. The hazard ratio for quadricep strength was about 1.51, and the hazard ratio for grip strength was about 1.35, I believe. Although for women, ironically, it was actually reversed. The hazard ratio for quadricep strength was about 1.65, and then for grip strength was about 1.8. So women don't like working on muscle groups in the upper body, and men don't like working on muscle groups in the lower body, but ironically, those are the muscle groups that tend to be the best suited for them. Those are the best muscle groups in as much as longevity is concerned, and as much as lowering your chance of death via exercise is concerned. And in this context, hazard ratio just means your likelihood of dying. And the higher the number, the better. So if it's 1, that means that there's no difference. If it's less than 1, that means they're correlated. And if it's more than 1, then means they're inversely correlated. So quadricep strength and hand grip strength are both inversely correlated, but since quadricep strength was 1.51 and hand grip strength was 1.35, then it was a better predictor. It was more inversely correlated. Essentially, for each standard deviation increase in quadricep strength, you have a 51% higher chance of surviving. Whereas with grip strength, for each standard deviation you go above, you have a 35% higher chance of surviving. So it's 1.51 and 1.35. But this doesn't take into account the fact that your legs are a lot more trainable than your forearm strength, than your grip strength is. Your grip strength is very much motivated and correlated with your hormone levels. Like if you have really high testosterone that day, if you wake up in the morning, you just have really high testosterone and you test your grip strength, you're gonna have a higher grip strength than you would throughout the day. And it takes incredible effort to see significant gains with that. Whereas with quadricep strength, it's much easier to go from a 225 pound squat to like a 315 squat. Much easier to measure as well, and it's much easier to progress in. And if you have it in you, you could probably start squatting 4 plates, which is like multiple standard deviations above average, which is going to put you at a significantly lower risk of death. So not only is quadricep strength a better predictor of health than forearm strength, than grip strength in and of itself, but quad strength is much more trainable, so you can actually increase your health exponentially more than just focusing on your grip strength. You may also be asking, well, why don't I just train my legs more when I get older instead of training them all now? And the problem with that is that when you get older, your ability to actually gain muscle is significantly diminished, because not actually fully devoting all of your energy to gaining muscle, you're devoting a lot of energy now to just not reduce muscle. You're trying to fight off against deterioration while building muscle, which is possible if you haven't been trained before, but it's a lot easier for you to build off a strong foundation than it is for you to start fighting off against disease while trying to build muscle, if that makes any sense. It's a better use of energy and muscle gains to build off a foundation that's maintaining itself than to fight off against a foundation that's deteriorating itself. So this is a comprehensive reason for why I believe that the legs play a crucial role in maintaining your overall physical function, maintaining your mobility, your balance, and like I said before. And if you address this at a really early age and reduce the potential limiting effects of sarcopenia, then you could further mitigate the age-related declines and help you live significantly longer. And of course, from a pure aesthetic standpoint, if you want to be doing bodybuilding for a long time, overdeveloping your legs because they're the ones that are going to depreciate the most as you get older is also an extremely good idea. And this is because your legs tend to depreciate in size quicker than the other muscle groups. So yeah, bad news guys, we have to train legs now, boo-hoo, I know it sucks, but I thought that this information is still useful for you guys and that you guys ought to know this, and I'm going to tailor my training around this. I have been tailoring my training around this, but my legs are still terrible. Just a genetic weak point, I guess, but that's no excuse. All right, thank you guys for listening. All right, I'll see you guys later. Bye.